Muta group was first an idea proposed by Edwin and Shirley Ardner, two social anthropologists from Oxford University in the 1970s. Then the theory was further studied by Cheris Kramray, a feminist theorist. During this study, Cheris was a speech communication professor at the University of Illinois. Today she is a professor at the Center for the Study of Women in Society at the University of Oregon. Mutagroup theory focuses on the language and relationship between the dominant and the submissive, especially men and women, where the man has power and the woman is inferior. It's a critical theory as its main idea is the unequal balance between mutagroups and dominators. With this imbalance, women are required to change their language and use the dominated male language to be heard. Because of this transition, it is impossible for women to fully share their thoughts, since men and women have different perceptions and experiences in life, which creates different languages. An example could be a woman using sports metaphors to communicate with the men at her workplace when trying to get a point across and be taken seriously, as sports are historically more familiar to men than women. With this graph, we see that the dominant group has a solid arrow pointing towards the perception of reality. This means that the male point of view is the correct attitude, being the norm and dominant vision. The muter group, being the women's point of view, only has a broken line, which represents how it is the non-dominant and non-standard perception of reality. With this illustration, we can see how Cheris Kramray perceives the languages between the different groups and cultures. Looking at the muter group theory, it can especially be used in research towards cases regarding sex and gender, but also other low-power groups, such as people of color, the LGBTQ community, or people from a lower socioeconomic group. An extremely up-to-date example is Donald Trump and his attitudes towards gender and race. First, I'd like to refer to how he signed away the reproductive rights of women in developing countries, which was immortalized with a picture of Donald Trump together with only men while passing the legislation. Moreover, mutagroup theory can also be used in research done by Maureen B. Costello in 2016 about Donald Trump's impact on children in the classroom. The children of color are fearing as a mutagroup that they will be deported. Trump is creating a tension in the classroom where fear and anxiety is rising among the children. And there has been an increase of bullying with religion, race, and nationality as verbal targets. By extending the theory and looking at other low-power groups besides women, research can show how a superior group, being Trump and his colleagues, affects the inferior group, the children of color. The mutagroup theory can be applied in many cases of communication. An example is how there are only 22 gender-related words in the English language for men who are a bit more sexually active than the average guy, where playboy, womanizer, and Don Juan are examples. On the other hand, the women have more than 200 words to describe their sexual activity, such as slut, whore, and mistress. Then again, most surveys done on sexual activity actually prove that men have more sexual partners than women. This is an example of women being the muter group as men dominate the language by having less negative words to describe their sexual behavior, while women who have less intercourse have more words to describe their actions in a demeaning way.
Created using Powtoon.